in my quest to test the source data pack, I'm moving on to a criminal card which I think many people just glossed over, underestimating its usefulness. That card is Revoir. Gain 1 credit when you jack out. I'm building a deck based on that. I'm playing it in Andromeda and I'm up against Stronger Together. Now, I told him in the chat I do not like his idea at all. I think this is a very bad matchup for me. But first, let's explain why. So this deck basically relies on Au Revoir as late game economy. I think that is the most logical place to use it, because for Au Revoir to be really useful, you need all 3 copies out. Then you can basically gain 3 credits every single time you jack out. And you can jack out as often as you want for every single click you have. So it's basically a late game economy, which means that you need early game burst to complement it, and what better way to get it than Andromeda, who also provides you the starting card draw that allows you to get all 3 Au Revoirs up faster. So basically I threw in lots of card draw in the mix with Authorized Hotel and Express Delivery to make sure I find all my Au Revoirs. They go together with Snitch. That's how you ensure that your Au Revoirs will fire off every single time. And I'm using cheap breakers, cheap in terms of influence, because I don't have much influence left. So my first turn, I basically play all my show gambles like an annoying Andromeda would, and I set up my draw engine on the supplier. I'm very happy that I drew my supplier in my opening hand. That is such an important card because a lot of my deck relies on hardware and resources quite a bit. So I first run his HQ for fun, mostly, keeping him poor. And then I play out my first Au Revoir. So the first one basically does nothing. Now, it's quite obvious that playing Au Revoir is problematic in Criminal, because with 3 Au Revoirs out, that consumes 3 memory units. You don't have enough space left to install the rest of your breakers. Okay, here I had to take back my Earthrise Hotel install, because only on this game, only right there, did I find out that Earthrise Hotel is actually unique. So that's something for all you viewers out there. You can only have 1 Earthrise Hotel active at any one time. So my Snitch Au Revoir combo comes up very early, and I capitalize on that to great effect. So what I'm doing is basically every single turn, instead of clicking for credits, I run his server, I snitch his ice, and then I immediately jack out. This gives me information on what kind of breakers I need to prepare when facing up against a run against his servers. At the same time, it actually gives me click compression because I'm gaining credits at the same time. It's like a Desperado that works on unsuccessful runs. How awesome is that? So yes, this is a very beautiful synergy that makes this card so good. Alright, my first Earthrise Hotel has finally ran out, so now I install my second one, and it gets to work soon. In the meantime, I continue using Au Revoir on all his ice, including those on his remote, so I know exactly what I need to be prepared for against his remote. Not many runners can do that. This is a very powerful aspect of this deck. This is quite important because I can only dedicate so much deck space to breakers. I only have 1 of each breaker, except for sentry breakers, and not that many special orders. So I have to use my special order that's in my hand right now very conservatively. So what do I tutor for? Corroder, Zuki Master, or Femme Fatale? That will all come down to which server he intends to pressure me on. This deck intends to go to the late game. Make no mistake, this is not your typical early assault Andromeda. You don't see any legworks or Maker's Eyes in here. This deck wants to go late game, and it can generate a hell lot of money when it can go late. So as you can see, I'm very lucky here. I haven't dug through half my deck yet, but I've already found all 3 Au Revoirs. This is very, very lucky. Usually I'll need to use up a Logos Tutor or like 2 or 3 express deliveries before I can even see 2 copies of Au Revoir, let alone 3. So right now, basically every time I expose his eyes, I'm gaining 3 credits. And I can do this every single click. This is not security testing. This works every single click, no matter what. So yes, in 1 turn, you can potentially gain 12 credits, and the best thing is the Corp cannot do anything about it. They cannot rest their eyes because you do not encounter it. You jack out before you even encounter it. Icing up archives does not help. Making no new remotes doesn't help either. So there's nothing he can do to stop my economic engine. And when you have 12 credits a turn, who cares if you are playing Zuki Master, an inefficient decoder? with 12 credits a turn, you don't really care. You just break through all the ice for cheap. Now, this is complicated in Stronger Together, of course, because the text actually adds up to quite a bit. Now, he shows me a Project Wotan in his hand, so I have to go for it. I liberate my HQ interface from my supplier and go straight for his HQ, breaking through his Eli using clicks because I wasn't able to bring out my Kuroda in time. So I access 2 cards, 40% chance of finding his Wotan. Didn't manage to do that, so good for him. But I'm still in a very good position. I still have 18 credits to my name. So I can easily break through his remote server if need be, and now he forces me to do so. So I know that exactly what's in his remote server. It's a Victor 2 followed by a Heimdall 2. The Victor 2 is easily breakable, but here I jack out because I know that I cannot break through a Heimdall 2. I jack out to gain 3 credits. Then I decide on how best to break the Heimdall 2. I could click through it, but taking 1 brain damage is never a good thing. I do not want to lose my clone chip or my Femme Fatale, so I play my Femme Fatale on the Heimdall 2. Now, ideally, I'd like to play my Femme Fatale on Res Ice instead of Unres Ice, but here, I cannot ever afford to let him score a Project Wotan. With Project Wotan is a very strong agenda in Stronger Together. Letting the corp score it essentially a doom, because that means you can no longer click through ice. They'll just slap and end the run at the end of it, and that's the end of it. Yeah, so clicking through ice is very important. It's something that I need to do. So being able to swing the 3 agenda points to my side was very important. Usually I'm okay with giving up the first agenda because I have a logos installed. I can tutor R&D interfaces, which is definitely what I want to see right now. Now, yeah, the best way to win is to go through R&D. He can set up a remote, sure. I can contest his remote easily, but his deck is full of ambushes and very weird assets, so I don't really want to spend lots of credits only to find an Adonis campaign at the end of it. So here I play our Snitch into our Revoir once again, gaining 3 credits and learning that there's another Heimdall in the game. This one's on HQ. So meanwhile, I get my Kuroda up. So now I have all 3 breakers. I can break through any server. All I need is a lot of credits, and that's not too hard when you have 3 our Revoirs. Yes, by the way, it is way stronger than security testing. Security testing will be dead at this point in time. But our Revoir just keeps going anytime you want. But I don't need to use our Revoir just yet. Instead, I'm going to pump up my hardware, my R&D interface, which is very important, using the supplier. Unfortunately, he threw a wrench in my plans. He uses Eliza's toolbox. Now, that is something I need to get rid of right off the bat. This messes up my strategy big time, because if every single server contains the outermost ice of every single server is rest ice, I cannot use our Revoir to jack out before encountering. Basically, I cannot jack out after the first piece of ice. So here I had to run it, and thankfully I decided to click through the Victor instead. No, I didn't click through the Victor. I used Zuki Master to get through the Victor, and as a result, Will of the Wisp fires, and Zuki Master gets buried underneath my stack, which is really unfortunate because I just used up my special order already. So, yeah, he attempted to archive memories the Eliza's toolbox, so I ran in to contest it, trashing it again. Very sneaky, but yeah, this is the problem with Eliza's toolbox in HB, because you can click through ice easily. You cannot defend your Eliza's toolbox very well. In the meantime, yeah, my current priority is to find that Zuki Master. It's all the way at the bottom of my deck, unfortunately. So here, yeah, I continue drawing up, and he attempts to score an agenda behind that server underneath a piece of ice. So I knew I had to contest that, and it's quite easy to contest it because you can expose that outermost piece of ice. So all I need to do is to just snitch on his outermost ice, but I chose not to. I allowed him to score the agenda because I wanted Logos to trigger. When Logos triggers, I can find my Zuki Master, and I'm back in the game. Yep, that's how you do it. So the game goes on, and now I've already solidified my board state. I have a whole lot of credits, and all I have to do is type snitch twice in the chat, and I gain 6 credits. Easy peasy. And yeah, So the next few turns consists of me and him gaining credits. He shows me a hand that contains Caprice Nisei, so I had to contest HQ for it. That goes without saying, and I managed to find it. So here's where things stand in this game. My goal is to find my final R&D interface so that I can make efficient runs on his weaker server, which is R&D. His goal is to create a scoring remote that is so thick that I cannot possibly snipe his agenda from there, because he knows that with my mountains of cash, I can easily break through his server. So the game is still rather tenuous on both sides, even though we have both one agenda in our score pile each. So here's what he does. He places something in his remote. I have to contest it. If it's an Eliza's toolbox, I'm in trouble. So I snitch. It turns out to be a Wotan. Well, it's too expensive for him to res. I realize he only has 5 credits left, so I continue on. And he shows me nothing other than a Will of the Wisp. Thank goodness I clicked through that Victor. Had I broken it with my Zuki Master instead, it would have gone down to the bottom of my stack again. So yeah, I mean, Will of the Wisp wouldn't have set me back too much. Okay, it would. Who am I kidding? It's very effective against criminals. So, next up, Express Delivery. I still have not found my R&D interface. There are only 6 cards left in my deck. I install my second Underworld Contacts. And here's a very beautiful synergy within my deck. I'm using this passive economy of Underworld Contacts with Dyson Memchip. Dyson Memchip is what enables this Revoir combo, because as you can see, I have 7 programs installed. I need that many memory units, -1, because Zuki Master is a cloud breaker. It costs 0 MU once I have at least 2 link. So that's a motivation of me using Zuki Master instead of Gordian Blade. Of course, I'm regretting it in this game because he just res a double Victor 2 against me that would have cost 7 credits to break with Gordian Blade. In this case, it cost me 12 credits. So yeah, having to pump the strength of Zuki Master twice is absolutely annoying. And its lower starting strength doesn't help at all against Stronger Together. But that's the price I pay for consuming 1 less memory unit, being cheaper to play, and costing less influence, which is actually a very important factor. So, I get my last Earthrise Hotel going. It will eventually dig me my final R&D interface. Once that happens, I can start running R&D. Right now, there's just seeing 2 cards of R&D is not worth it, considering that he'll just place more ice on R&D later on. Here I attempt a HQ run, and soon it becomes pretty clear that it's going to become a battle of lucky random accesses. Can I get the random access that I need in order for me to win? That will determine the outcome of the game. But I still have a few tricks up my sleeve. Firstly, the feedback filter has been lazing around on my rig, but it's there for a reason. I didn't just install it just because it was free with the supplier. It prevents up to 2 brain damage, which can be incredibly important when clicking through a Janus or a Heimdall. Then there's Clone Chip. Clone Chip is pretty important, as you see here, because I snitched his outermost ice, protecting his remote. He just installed a new card in the remote. It could be a toy box. I need to get rid of it. So I attempt to do so. I know that the Ichi is going to be very expensive to break through with Fem, so I'm going to ditch my Fem. Anyway, his Heimdall 2 that I Fem has been gone since long, long ago. And now is the first time that I actually need to bring out a proper Sentry Breaker for his high strength ice. So I jack out, obviously gaining 3 credits because I'm awesome that way. I do that again, gaining another 3 credits because I'm awesome. I'm still that awesome. Then I play the Ninja and make it through his server. But after doing some maths, I realized that it would cost me 12 credits to break through the Victors, 5 credits to break the Ninja. I'll have 1 credit left, and that thing in the server is certainly not an agenda. If it's a toy box, I can't trash it. So he pointed that out to me, and I realized that it's too late, so I just jacked out for 3 more credits instead. And sure enough, it was a toy box. He used it to res a Wotan. At this point, I called GG in chat, because I knew that it was only going to be a matter of time before I lost the game. He played this very well. It's a ticking time bomb. But he realized this as much as I did myself. The 2 outermost eyes, one on archives and one on his vulnerable remote, is my only 2 routes left to trigger Au Revoir. Once he reses them both, Au Revoir is no longer there, and I lose my main economic backbone. So I had to act fast, and I acted then. I installed my R&D interface and saw 3 cards. Toy Box, NAPD contract, and Will of the Wisps ended that run with no credits left to my name. So I'm very poor now, and to make things worse, he's going to destroy my only economic engine. I mean, most runners who rely on big rig usually use Magnum Opus. That can never be destroyed once you have a proper rig. But against this deck, things are very different. Usually Au Revoir is unstoppable. The Corp can't do anything to stop my Au Revoir engine, but he has the perfect solution and he's using it. He's adapting very well to my strategy. So knowing that I'm about to be shut out of my last Au Revoir's ice, I took 12 credits from snitching his last piece of ice before he rested it with Toy Box. So now, at this point, I'm completely sealed out. That's the game. So now my only economy left is the 3 underworld contacts that are running in the background. That's nowhere near enough to beat his ice. So here I want to make it through his R&D, but I realized that I wanted to click through the Heimdall. I'm not going to spend 9 credits to break the Heimdall 2. Credits are at a premium here. So what I instead did was, instead of playing the Lucky Find, I started by running. So this allows, because playing the Lucky Find won't allow me to click through Heimdall. Here I could click through Heimdall, but I would take 1 brain damage. Hopefully it won't hit the Lucky Find, because now is the time I really need the Lucky Find for the credits. Of course, I lose the Lucky Find. But basically, Lucky Find was sitting in my hand as a dead card for most of the game, because 2 Au Revoir runs makes you 6 credits, which is exactly the same amount that Lucky Find will net you. So Lucky Find is useless until this moment. But it's okay, because I actually found the last agenda that won me the game. Wow, that was a crazy game. Big props to my opponent, because he accurately pinpointed the weakness of me, which was that once he rests every single outermost piece of ice, my deck was pretty much dead. And yeah, at least I managed to pull off the win just in the nick of time. He was doing a very good job. I'm pretty sure he was chucking agendas into archives. I never bothered checking it, because I needed archives as my Au Revoir server, so I cannot make a proper run through there. This meant that he could bury agendas at the bottom of his deck with Hades Fragment. Hades Fragment, which he had been using quite a bit. My apologies to all of you who are cringing behind your screens every single time I say the words Au Revoir. It's meant to be pronounced as Au Revoir, apparently. I'm not even sure if I'm saying it correctly right now. And I've been basically mispronouncing it this entire video, but who cares? It gained me 3 credits per click. You can't ask for anything better than that. Sure, it required so much setup, but it pays off, because the whole deck just comes together. The supplier helps build up my Dyson mem chips, which give me link to install underworld contacts for drip economy, and it also gives me a memory for Au Revoir, which gives me even more money. So this is a very awesome deck. I actually initially implemented this in Ian Sterling, but I quickly ditched it in favor of the 5 extra influence and the improved starting hand size. Seeing 1 in 5 of your cards instead of 1 in 9 is a huge difference. And by far the best side effect of this deck is that I never had to worry if he was going to res a piece of nasty ice that would deal damage to me, because I could always expose it before choosing to continue on with the run. I can't overstate how important this is in today's meta, where dangerous ice such as the Jinteki AP ice, Grail ice, and Genesis are floating all around the place. This deck certainly has the potential to stomp most other Corp decks, but it will suffer when it comes to dealing against Next Ice Foundry and, of course, Fast Advance. Thanks for watching and happy net running.